guys, Noz, you ready?
You ready?
Oh,
We are
locked in. Yeah, obviously producers ourselves, we gave ourselves the second show.
Yeah, featuring ourselves on this one, yeah.
Yeah, I've got my good guy Noz on today, so big ups to yourself, Broski. Thought I'd bring us on. No, in all seriousness, obviously, thought it'd be important to show you guys, more about us and us. Obviously, we set up the company ourselves, and then
Just a bit of a background, really. I guess give everyone a bit of. I guess there's some people that'll be watching that work with us week in, week out. There'll be some people that have never heard of us before. So I guess really just to bring everyone up to speed, we're going to be doing a lot of podcasts. We've got a lot in the pipeline. Really now is just to give everyone a little insight, get to know us a little bit better, maybe have a little chat along the way, and then go from there.
And I think also it's a starting point as well, because obviously for us we didn't know where we were going to start specifically. So it was more of a, if you want to, maybe that's a good place to start, of where we actually started and how the NE Property Group came about.
We were founded 18, 19 months ago now. We've been full-time since September.
Focusing on that specific starting point though. Maybe across the last few weeks we've given a background on what we do, but
I think that's quite an interesting part of the story. Obviously, when we were both in full-time jobs. You were working on building site.
I was lifting up boards. You can see by the big old muscles I've got now.
He's lost them since he stopped doing it as well,
Yeah.
But yeah, you were lifting 20, 30, 50 p a board.
Yeah, it was on price. So I was on price. People probably know on site you get a price or a day rate. It's a price, and I was just getting as much done as I could, as many boards. It was at 80p a board, I'm pretty sure.
Top them all up.
Yeah, humble beginnings.
And then whilst Ed was doing that, I was at a recruitment company, and then we were kind of just on the phone, like lunch break. The guys in the office never saw me not on my phone during a break, just trying to push the property business to a stage where we could go full time. And that probably brings, before we even start about that first month, it brings you to the point of kind of setting up a business, and can you set up a business alongside a full time job? Proof's in the pudding for us, but it wasn't the first business we'd set up. And I think looking back, every business that I've run throughout school, be that like phone cases or remember the suites, for example, that we do. We had like a mafia club business on the street.
Had the Lockerfield.
Lockerfield, ice packs, the lot, B&M multi-packs, all of that. But all those businesses were going alongside. None of them were ever full-time hustles. And obviously you mentioned it in the last podcast about kind of side hustle, side income.
Yeah.
Sometimes it needs to start as a side income, but sometimes that side income will prove the viability of taking that full term or full time.
I think that's why we're going to do the webinar. I think we're going to do the free webinar, because that is exactly what it is. We had to run other jobs at the same time to be able to, but we wanted to teach ourselves and get the education first. So I think it's just showing people what's possible, but that is definitely possible. Especially with the sourcing specifically. I think we touched on it last podcast. The fact that you can, if you have a daytime job and in the evening you want to go to a free networking event, take a deal there that you maybe have got from a lunchtime call. There's loads of possible ways of doing it. For us, we were staying up in Coventry. So
I guess just before that, in terms of like when we were part-time, we were just kind of trying to get that first deal sold to prove it. And then we got to a stage where we had it. I don't even think we closed one deal completely, but we'd had the kind of demand, and we knew that there was the market there to do it, and we at that point were lucky enough we could jump all in, because I was kind of on a full-time salary. It was just a case of me making that decision to take the risk. Yours was slightly different on a price, but similar thing in terms of just taking the risk of not earning for a little while, and that really takes us to Coventry, which is kind of the birthplace of
for that. So I think just explain that week. That week we were just calling every single agent in the West Midlands. I think that was the area, because we were not to go into it too much depth, but we were doing kind of like a purchase yield kind of the first kind of big contact we got was through LinkedIn, which we'll talk about loads in podcast episodes. But my background in contract recruitment, cold outreach, LinkedIn is just the best platform for bringing in bigger investors. And we hadn't done any sourcing, and we were working on the first deal we sold was £11 million, but lesson for everyone is we sold that whilst we were still part-time. We didn't have the structures in place or the processes, and we ended up not getting paid any sourcing. But it was that contact that started to buy properties that we would attach the exit solution to, which was like the tenants or the rent on the back of it. So we sourced him a property that he purchased. We then run it as service accommodation ourselves. That gave us a little bit of a
a kick into that side, and we did some renovations and stuff there too. But that then led to Coventry being an area that we were in already and could then focus on. And then September the 1st till about September the 30th, October the 1st, something like that. We were 4 or 5 weeks, kind of maybe 1 or 2 nights a week. We came back home to Essex. I mean, Coventry's a long way for us. We're Chelmsford based. So Coventry is like 3 hours.
Hadn't been up there before. Hadn't
never been there.
University there or anything. I just knew that was a good area for yields.
Yeah.
Where people were looking, investors were looking, and West Midlands is as big as kind of say London, but more of kind of an open entry to get into potentially.
Well, with the lower rents, we saw it was easy to kind of get kind of people from referencing, and really it was just like starting out the business. We didn't have the luxury of being able to decide where we wanted to get deals.
We'll pop up, to be fair, some pictures and videos. Pop one up here. But I remember there was one video that specifically made me just kind of remember back to that time, and it was me, you and James in a hotel room in Coventry. It was the cheapest hotel room. There you go, on air's gone. It was the cheapest hotel room we could find. 3 of us staying in one room. And all we did for that whole day was calling agents all the time, getting loads of no's, getting loads of pushbacks. But from that, the very next morning, call it fate, call it good luck, whatever you will, but the very next morning we got a call back from an agent saying
shout out GLB and
shout out GLB, shout them out. Shout them out. They said they've got a big block in the middle of Coventry that was student accommodation, but the landlord was wanting to convert it all into rental SA. So from that opportunity, built the pipeline, got investors.
Got HMOs there as well, didn't we?
Got HMOs there as well, and then literally from there,
we left Coventry at the end of the month, having not secured anything for 3.5 weeks, with 15 properties available for rent across studios, HMOs.
I remember we were driving home, going through the numbers on the way back.
On the way home, analysing deals. I think at first they didn't work until we realised then they were bills included. All of a sudden we were like, thank goodness, you know what I mean? Sure. And then we sold them to like 5 or 6 different investors over a period of maybe the next 2-3 weeks, and that brought in 15,000-20,000 in revenue, but that just kick-started the whole business. We had costs that we had to associate to a lot of that sourcing just from starting the business, but that then I think gave us the proof to kick things on. I mean, you look back at that now, and there was a couple of hotel rooms where it basically choose the cheapest hotel room on each night that's got availability, and we got a couple of ones which we were really lucky with and that were massive and lovely. And then there's a couple of others where Fox, so for guys who don't know, Fox will definitely be on the podcast coming forward, but he is the first guy that kind of toured Coventry with us and has stuck with us as a sourcer ever since. He had his head on a chair, his legs up on a banister, trying to was out there just. However, we could get a couple of eyes, but it was that morning that we got the call, and all of a sudden we had 12 viewings, whatever, lined up, and the rest is.
And I know they always say you have to go through loads of no's and then you'll get a yes, but I think having the education, because I remember while I was on site, I came home every night. There was a period where I didn't have to go to work for like 2 weeks, and I remember just having my book open. I'll probably be able to share that as well. That book, just learn every strategy. It's all the information's going to be there online where you need it. So just collating all that, understanding it. What do we want to do, and then just try.
And you say kind of how many times to try. It might take 100 no's to get a yes, but you could spread those 100 no's over 6 months, or like we did, you could get 100 no's in 3 weeks because you called that many agents and you've just done the output in that time period, and you're still going to get your 1-2 yeses. But instead of I go to some networking events and speak to guys that maybe are 6-12 months into their journey and haven't been able to find their first deal. I think in that case it's got to come down to output, and I think for us that showed and it's kind of stuck with us, and the people that have joined have seen that and stuck with that as well, that once you put that output in, you have to get rewarded, otherwise,
as long as you're funding it in the right way, in a productive way, for sure.
So I mean, taking it then to obviously what we do now, we're rent-to-rent sources at heart, but we're looking at expansion across separate models. When we wanted to get into property, I'll leave it to you to take over, but rent-to-rent sourcing wasn't the thing that we saw first and thought that's what we're going to do, that's how we're going to make our money, or that's how we're going to start our business journey. But a bit about kind of the trend. You hop in whenever you're ready, innit?
Yeah, no, I went to Colchester Sixth Form College, so I spent 2 or 3 years after school in that area specifically. We didn't know a great deal about sourcing or any of the other facets in property. We purely thought it was build up a pot of money essentially, put it on a deposit, see kind of, I think we had a lower mortgage potentially because we were first time buyers.
At the time I was in a salary.
Yeah.
And you had income, so we could just about get a mortgage.
Just
like
about
the traditional way to do
Yeah,
it.
traditional. It's just a matter of getting a deposit, doing the refurb. We didn't know BRRR or anything like that. Just a simple flip and what we could kind of turn that into. But I mean, I think that may be the case for others as well. You know, in that position that I know it is definitely, you know, going into the purchase and owning properties is where eventually longer down the line we want to get into as well. And it's definitely I was always urge that as kind of up there within the top priorities of property. But I think initially sourcing for us, like you said, it was just a time element. Didn't have to go through the whole kind of back and forth with the solicitor on that specific property. I think it was a case that we couldn't get it because of the mortgage.
It was like a chicken and egg situation. The mortgage wouldn't allow us to get a mortgage until the works are done, but we couldn't get the works done until we had a mortgage.
Yeah.
So it was a case of catch-22 basically.
Yeah. And we didn't have any other kind of avenues that we could go off or add or provide.
There was no further income we could offer, anything like that.
No landlord kind of...
And I think that was the key turning point. At that point we could have said, right, let's wait 2 months, see how this goes. You know, I will get an email once a week back, kind of giving us some update. Oh, great, we feel like we're in the loop. Or what you did was, because you had, like I said, had those couple of weeks off, where you kind of just dived all the way in, and you know, like I've seen other people say it time and time again, where you know, once you maybe see something working, take a week's holiday. You know, take a week off just to kind of put yourself in the mind of, right, if I was doing this full time, how would I act? You know, and you were still getting up at 8 o'clock every morning. You were still working when I got back at 7 p.m. But just instead of working, you know, through the building works, you were working on you didn't then take it easy for the week because you had a week off work.
No. I think that's so important to touch on as well. The fact that people our age, specifically between the ages of between 18 and early 20s,
25 even.
Yeah, there's so less responsibilities from us. You know, you don't have, for example, when we started, we didn't have a rent to pay, didn't have a car bill to pay as such. You know, phone, things like that. You know, there's less cost, less responsibilities. So for us, and I would urge anyone else in the same position, there's always enough time to go into that kind of, you know, as a fallback option. For example, like for example with Noah, he was in a full-time job. Yes, you leave yourself a bit exposed, a bit at a risk, but you know, you said it in the right way, said that you were doing it to better yourself, and then if it didn't work out, for example, you know, there's always the option to go back into that kind of full you know,
you'd much rather fail doing
100%.
it than never know whether you'd succeed or not, because you decide it's a safer play. And look, if you're 40, 45, 50, 60, however old watching this, you know, the same kind of concept applies.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think, especially when you're younger, you know, you're coming out, maybe a lot of our friends went to uni, right? I didn't go to uni because I knew that I just wanted to kind of work as quickly as possible, and then that transitions to running the business. But, you know, a lot of my friends just seen that as the traditional route. It's the route that I went to a grammar school, 99% of boys are pushed to go to university. 80% of those 99% are now back living at home, still in a similar position to when they left. Just because it's seen as the right thing to do to go uni.
I mean, even people close to you, like family members, potentially probably at the time when you were leaving your recruitment job that has longevity,
100%.
security.
It's taking the bet on yourself, I guess. But we're lucky, obviously, being brothers. For those that didn't know, being brothers just means that we can, you know, we live together, so we work together. It means that there's always someone doing something, which is good. Sure. But I do think that 2 week period that you took. Where, I mean, go into a bit more detail on it, but you know, like just unlimited hours of just research. I don't want to big you up too much on that, but it's decent.
This is for anyone though. YouTube videos. I mean, we went to one £1 crash course. Apart from that, didn't buy any other course. You know, again, you can do. It may add loads of value for sure. I'm not kind of debating either way. I'm just saying it's not a necessity. You don't need to kind of do that. I mean, why? You know, going back to that point, why that's so important for education for us is the fact that we want to teach people in our positions in the schools, and you know, that there is other avenues. So you know, that's why that's such a big thing for us, and we want to kind of, you know, put that message out there. So
100%. And within those 2 weeks, then, you know, obviously I wasn't there, but we were kind of hundreds of WhatsApp messages a day. But you know, what kind of well, firstly, what kind of videos were you watching,
Sure.
and then what info you taking from those to kind of put together an actual business plan? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, initially, just the people that are doing it well, successfully. Initially, Samuel Leeds, the Steve Hamilton, the names that you're familiar with. I think there's a guy called Ed on Instagram. So I mean, once you do your digging and you start looking into maybe like Superhost on Airbnb, well-known short-let accommodation companies, you can start to get a flavour of what that is. I think, he would, I'd watch a 15-minute video on a specific section, for example, the difference between rent to HMO, rent to SA. In school, I was a bit of a sweat maybe, so I was like, write down everything that he says,
Sweat.
read it back to myself, annotate it,
Yeah.
rewrite it. Again, you can ask our dad, we've probably got books and books and books at home of just writing back and forth. Like, it is almost like when you're revising for a test at school, once you have that information, you just add to it and build to it.
And that information's valuable, that information's worth money as well,
100%,
I mean, when we first started, even then looking at serviced accommodation, we started looking at running them ourselves. And then I remember looking at like a penthouse in Liverpool, and it was the first property we'd seen on Rightmove, but we ran all of our numbers on it, did all of our due diligence before we even picked up the phone to the agent.
Yeah.
And then obviously you get on the phone 2 seconds later, it's a no.
Yeah.
You've got to start at the beginning. But then, that transition was, right, what are the needs of the business right now and the needs of the business for cash flow? We can't provide that cash flow to get going with service accommodation deals without money up front. Do we want to take an investment? Or how else can we find those funds?
This would have been a really great deal to take on, but I just don't have the money for it. How do I get that money? Share it with an investor.
Exactly that. And then it was a case of, over the next, I'd say like those first 6 months are a case of honing contracts, honing processes. I think processes are so important, and something that we've tried to build within the business, because when you're looking to grow a business, you can't get 20 staff members in place if you don't have a structure and telling them what to do, how to be successful, or you're wasting your money in terms of paying them an hourly salary if they're not going to be well enough trained to do that.
Just a little bit of advertisement in there. With our educational packs, they will include things like contracts, corporate-let contracts that are solicitor approved. We'll have step-by-step processes, all the things that we'd shared with our sources kind of right at the start. We want to integrate with the rest of the community, and that's why.
I think the goal on that, and obviously just to shout that out to everyone that's listening, is we will be putting together a very strong education package. I think from our experiences and how we've learned in the best way to focus this is very small exclusive groups that we'll be working very closely with. We've tried and tested this with sources that now work for us full time, and it's been successful.
We are looking to build the team as well.
We are looking to build the team. So if you are keen to source, maybe haven't got the compliancy, let us know. The education side is for those guys that want to run their own sourcing businesses. So not necessarily to work within the business, but to partner with the business once you're fully trained up and can co-source, each of those opportunities, even on a co-source basis, worth 1,500. How we're changing our education kind of to those on the market. I think that a lot of the current providers, you're taught in a very, very rigid, specific way, which means that everyone has the same process, the same way. It means you sound the same when you speak to agents. You sound the same when you speak to investors, and if as you can imagine, if you get 10 calls and all of them sound very similar, you're likely to put numbers 2 to 10 down. Whereas I think our program be a bit more open, flexible, and based on each individual, because we're going to keep it very, very, very small.
I think transparent as well. I see a lot of these groups and the courses that kind of, when everyone comes out of it, they think it's just going to be a success straight away, 100%. Whereas we want to explain the full journey, our ups, our downs, our positive, our negatives, and then kind of shape that, because we learnt from our mistake, but if we can kind of translate those mistakes we've made personally, and kind of the people we work with then don't have to make them same mistakes, but have it at a fraction of the price and things like that, then we're here for it. So
and we're not in a position to regurgitate something that someone else has taught us, because we haven't taken that training yet. We haven't kind of taken a structure and then we're kind of spitting it back out. It's completely fresh, new to the market, and it's fully focused around our genuine experiences, being a first time sourcer, and that growth. I mean, high level now, we're in a much stronger position, and we've got a lot of expansion that I think we'll cover towards the end of the podcast. Just a shout out on the webinar side, because I think it could be something that a couple of you guys listening maybe keen on getting involved in.
100%. I feel like something that we don't potentially at this stage, well, definitely we don't, like, being this young, need to do it right now. But I feel like people like Simon Squibb, big shout out to him on YouTube. People like
I'd
that.
love to get Simon on the podcast,
we'd
by the
love
way.
that.
Yes, if
We
you
would
know
love
him,
that.
shout him out.
Yeah, just where he goes up to people, asks them what their dream is, and then how we can kind of get to that point. So we just want to improve people, give people alternatives to what they can do in life, and that's what drives us to do that.
Well, you'll see behind you that sign, Next Generation Network. We actually kind of, the reason we've got all the equipment for the podcast and we've been able to get going with this so quickly is because we were all set up and good to go for a new podcast which was basically focused around entrepreneurial mindset.
Shout out Matt as well.
Shout out Matt Barrett who supported building that out, and we're going to look to continue that in the future. But I think these can now start to intertwine. You know, we want to start doing talks in schools, you know, really kind of for work experience, but also for building their own businesses, just because there's so many different ways that you can earn money and you can make a living and you can live your life. You know, you haven't got to live it on the terms that are set out by a 9 to 5 job.
I think that's really
2 weeks
important as well. Just the value of life. You know, I'm not. I think if you ask you the question, for example, what you do, kind of regardless of money and things like that, but I mean, what you do, quality of time, day to day. You know, what was your day look like when you was in, say, full-time recruitment, when you started, when you got there, to what that looks like now? I think that'd be quite...
100%. I mean, if I take you through a typical recruitment day, I'd be up at 7 a.m. I'd be stressed because I'd have a line manager and a boss who's chasing the line manager. And obviously recruitment's a very much a commission-driven industry, and a lot of your commission funnels straight through to the boss. So you're constantly being pressured. But I'd be up at, say, 7, need to be in the office by 8:15. I'd spend, you know, £35, £40 on a train, getting there and back. 8:15, you'd have a 10-minute break at 10:15, and then you'd have a 45-minute lunch at 12, say. But then you're working 8:15 till, I mean, contracted hours is 6:30, but we used to typically probably work until 8:30, 9 p.m. as an average every day. So you'd be in there till 10:30, 11. I mean, the structure on that, we were paying like 80% of our earnings to the boss or the company. So you're only earning then.
It's thumbs down for that, man. Big down, shout out.
Shout that down.
Shout that down.
But you're earning, say, 20% of what you're actually bringing into the business, but you're obviously putting a lot of output in behind the scenes. I mean, contract recruitment, even in the nicest industry, is difficult. But I was in data and intelligence. You're working with a lot of people that earn a lot of money, but also think they're worth a lot of money. So, you know, you're trying to deal with those, and my lunch and breaks then, you know, 10:15 till 10:30 and 12 till 1 was just constantly property until I made the jump, really.
So translate that across what that looks like now.
I mean, now I'd say that, you know, I think we're probably working by 9:30. I mean, it's nice to, you know, not have the stress that if you miss an alarm, like I did once or twice at my old job, if you miss your alarm once in the morning, that you get into the office and, you know...
I mean, usually Big Boss over here is pretty angry, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, he's a big boss, is a big alarm clock, mate, as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, up and ready and working by 9:30. You know, we I mean, you'll see the set is actually where we live now, so...
We're going to give him a little behind the scenes.
We'll give a little behind the scenes, fine. But we've moved out now, so 5-10 minute walk into Chelmsford, you know, get some lunch. If I've got an appointment in the afternoon or I've got a viewing, I maybe need to go to London for the day. You know, my day is set by me now. You know, we write day plans in the evenings just to kind of keep ourselves set, but each day is very fluid. I think sourcing is a fluid, and it's nice to have new things to deal with most days.
I like the fact that it's, you know, so when you're self-employed, you have to earn, you know, there's no guarantees.
You could stay in bed until 1 p.m, but then you haven't earned money until 1 p.m.
Yeah.
So, you know,
it's just kind of deciding for you, putting the emphasis on yourself and really backing yourself.
And having both of us obviously just keeps, you know, one person might be less motivated one day, but you will have both of us here plus 2 or 3 of the guys each day who work with us will come into the office, and that environment, that buzz is good. You know, if you're starting a business and you're working from home every day and you're building it from home, I think that can be hard. You know, my advice would be go and work in a coffee shop twice a week, or, you know...
Or anyone watching this as well that likes it and wants to get in touch, we work in Chelmsford, like you just said, we're based in Chelmsford, so anyone feel free. We've got work offices downstairs, so we really want to connect with a lot of you, because we don't want it to be a situation where people get in touch, love the content, want to get involved, but there's something stopping them. You know, we want to find those solutions and build this community out to give everyone that kind of that opportunity. Because we're not saying that we've done it right or we're living special or anything like that, but you know, we have been put into this position now from this exact kind of, you know, process. So I think that's important. I mean, that potentially leads me on very nicely into
the book section. He's been very excited about this section.
My new section. I've been very excited about it. I have. This one's called 48 Laws of Power. So I'll read you the one main law.
Read us it.
I will. Law 25. And this one says recreate yourself. So I think ties in perfectly with where we've been discussing. Do not accept the roles that society foists on you. Recreate yourself by forging a new identity, one that commands attention and never bores the audience. Be the master of your own image rather than letting others define it for you. So there we go.
That's lovely.
There we go. So that is the recreation of yourself, Law 25. I think it is important to have different sources, not always looking at a screen 24/7.
Can we have a point evaluate explain on that one as
well? Yeah. Essentially, you know, just like it says there, you know, you don't have to be put into an identity by someone. You don't have to kind of do that role because, you know, maybe you feel obliged to, or your parents, you know, think you must, or, you know, just create that own pathway for yourself and yeah.
I guess also, yeah, like your boss, you know, your boss puts you in a role, kind of puts your skill sets, you know, your ceiling isn't necessarily the level which your boss puts you at. So
yeah.
How can you, you know,
you're not just a job occupation, you can also be, you know what I mean? Why can't you be a deal sourcer?
People have, you know, 5, 6, 7 careers throughout their lifetime that are, you know, unrelated. I think property...
That's a great point as well, you know what Simon said as well. That's the wrong question. They're asking the wrong question in schools. You know, they say, what do you want to do? What do you want to be? That's the wrong question. You may have 5 to 7 different occupations across your lifespan. So it's about what you actually want to achieve, what impact you want to make on the world. So I think that's a good point. Breaking news. Yes, guys, so we have a competition time. We need you guys to like our page, like our newest post, comment on one of our posts, and follow our page. If you do all 3 of those things, send us proof. You're in for a chance to win. Our first prize is a free HelloFresh box.
Who doesn't want freshly cooked ingredients?
See, we're not
perfectly prepared. Yeah. Listen, HelloFresh, you don't sponsor us yet, but you will do. Yeah. But yeah, no. All jokes aside, we're going to run weekly giveaways alongside our podcast. This is the first of those. Wanting to get this podcast out to as many people as possible. So please share, like, comment, follow, just like my boy over there has suggested you to do.
We're going to start a healthy option as well, you know. HelloFresh keeps us nice in check. Again, HelloFresh.
So if you want jerk barbecue pitters with cheddar cheese wedges, then please follow us.
Yeah. HelloFresh again. Thank you for that. We're gonna like Mo said, competition every week. That's gonna be the first one. We've got 3 boxes to give away, so there's gonna be 3 winners in the first kind of section.
Let's hope you get 3 follows then, yeah.
And ideally there'll be property inspired pages, but again we'll you know, anyone that's interested in this, you know, in property and in the Any Property group, we love you. You know what I'm saying? We love you.
Perfect. I mean, before we didn't want to keep this too long. I think for us it's just more of, like I said, an introduction. I think it's good to give the guys and girls out there and the ladies and grandparents out there a bit of an idea of how the podcast will move forward. So, you know, we'll be here every week now. We want a special guest every week, and we would love you guys to suggest some options that you think are interesting to hear from, that maybe you'd want us to speak to. We've got some names in our head, and, you know, there's some people we have holding conversations with at the moment that I think you'll be very happy to hear from. But the goal of this is really just to give you guys as much value as possible. We want to know is, you know, teach you and give you as much advice and entrepreneurial journey that we can from people that we can speak to. And if we can help one person an episode, we'd be happy. So anyone at all that you guys think would be a good match, that we'll start. We might have to start at the bottom, but we will work our way up.
Shout out some big names though. I'm talking Alan Sugar.
Yeah,
I want the big names of property business. Shout them out. Two young property budding entrepreneurs here want to speak with you. Simon Squibb as well. We're shouting him out as well.
100%.
So yeah, anyone and everyone, like I said, right at the start of our journey. We're growing out our social media presence. So again, for anyone, whether it's sourcing, investing, whatever, put it on social media. I think
Yeah.
Samuel Leeds makes a massive point of that. You know,
100%.
stream to the world
Let people know
what
what
you're
you're
doing
doing,
and
yeah.
who you are.
And yeah, I mean, you'll
Yeah.
see the new look that's come from this podcast, right? You know, the thumbnails, the podcast cover art,
Shout out Mark as well.
the weekly posters, that will continue. We've got a new head of the graphics team that's supporting our marketing team now, that is really pushing for kind of giving you guys some cool graphics to look at and associate with the business. So, you know, from that standpoint, branding will be key. You'll see
Big
a
up
lot more
Ruthie as
from
well
us.
for all the help with the podcast
Behind the
and
scenes.
media and videos. Love for
Yes,
that.
sir.
But yeah, no, good vibes, good energy. You know, we're yeah, like I said, looking forward to hearing from everyone. Hopefully, you enjoy the episode. It's gonna be a short, sweet one. But yeah, big ups.
Over and out. Appreciate you.